Hello students, this is Mr. Sims, and we have day 10, Orders of Operations with Rational Numbers, starting on page 79. And this is going to be video number 1 of 2 videos that I'm going to actually make for this lesson. The lesson objective: I can evaluate expressions with rational numbers. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a review of the orders of operations, and we're just going to look at integers at this point, just to kind of review, because it's been a little while since you've done this. So consider the following expression. So we have 11 minus 3 times 2, or it could be 11 minus 3 times 2 written this way. As a matter of fact, I'm going to rewrite it that way because that's the way you're going to see it. So let's suppose that we multiply first. So the reason that we have an order of operations is so that we'll get the same answer every time. So let me show you why. So let's suppose we multiply first. All right. So we take the 3 times the 2. Okay. Or you can look at this as a negative 3 times a positive 2. So this becomes 11 minus 6. And then we do the 11 minus 6, and 11 minus 6 becomes 5. So if we multiply first, and then we do the subtraction afterwards, multiply, subtract, then we get 5. Now let's suppose that we subtract first. So now 11 minus 3 times 2, let's suppose that I subtract these two first, giving me 8, and then I multiply 8 times 2, I get 16. So what you see is that we do not get the same answer. So then which way is correct? Well, there's a specific order to this, and the reason, and we can talk about in class if you have questions about why do we multiply before we add or subtract, and I can have that discussion. All right. Which way is correct? Well, that's why somebody came up with this order of operations, order that we do the operations in, and a lot of it is based on how strong the operations are. So there are really 4 steps to the orders of operations. And the first thing that we do is you do any operations within grouping symbols first. Okay? That would be your parentheses. That would be brackets. Sometimes you see problems with brackets in it. Sometimes there's this absolute value. Okay? And I'll even include the fraction bar, because sometimes you might have operations on the top of a fraction and operations on the bottom of a fraction. So that would be considered a grouping symbol. Right? Then 2, then you evaluate any exponents. Well, for what we're doing for right now in 7th grade, we're not really doing anything with exponents. Exponents would be like if you had something like 5 to the 3rd power. It means 5 times 5 times 5. Right? But in 7th grade, we don't really do many of those types of problems, so maybe later on in the year. So then we move on to multiply and divide. And it's from left to right. It's not multiply. You don't always multiply before you divide. It's just you multiply and divide as you see it from left to right. Then you add and subtract from left to right. Right? So that is the order that we're supposed to perform our operations in. And as I said, if you want to have a discussion and ask me in class about why we multiply before we add and subtract, then I can do that. All right, now you guys formally know this probably, well, in a couple different ways, but I was always taught PEMDAS. And I always wrote it like this, and I put arrows above the M and the D and above the A and the S. And the reason that I did that is because it meant that you multiply and divide as you go left to right. So if division comes first, you do division, then do multiplication. If subtract, same thing with subtraction. Okay? Or if we think about this is when we do all the combining, and the combining of all the signs. All right. So let's do an example or two, just reviewing how to do this. And I'm going to involve the integers. So this is going to really involve remembering how to combine. So example number 1, and then you'll have the exercise down here below to work through as your checkpoint. So example number 1, starting with the first one on the left here. So we have 10 minus 15 times negative 4. Matter of fact, let's cross that out and let's just leave it as that works there. All right? And what we'll do is we're going to follow that order of operations. So if you want to write this down, Not a bad idea. So first thing I see is I have a set of parentheses here. So I'm going to do the operations inside parentheses. So I have 10 minus 15. All right, if you combine a positive 10 with a negative 15, you get a negative 5. And then we'll multiply negative 5 times negative 4, which would be positive 20. All right. Moving on to the one on the right. We've got parentheses and we got division. So let's combine what's inside the parentheses. So we have negative 12 minus 14. If I borrow 12 and I borrow 14 more, it's still negative. Same signs when we're combining. Remember, it's add, keep the sign. Negative 26 divided by 2. I know I have a negative answer, so let's talk about getting that sign first. And 26 divided by 2 is 13. Okay, remember I'm stressing, get that sign first so you don't forget about it. All right, next one down here. 80 minus 4, and then once again I've got a set of parentheses, so I'm going to perform the operation inside parentheses first. So I'm going to do the 5 minus a 7, so everything else is going to remain here. 80 minus 4, 5 minus 7. If I have 5 and I take 7 away, that's negative 2. All right. Okay, so now watch what I'm going to do here. Next comes the multiplication. This is multiplication. So watch how I'm going to do this. This minus 4 really means it's a negative 4. So this is really negative 4 times negative 2, which is positive 8. Okay, remember the double negative rule. If I take away 4 negative 2's, it's going to increase by 8. And then I do the addition piece at the end. 80 minus 80 plus 8 is equal to 88. All right, and then just one more because I've already got it here. And now we'll do 12 minus 30. And then this is a grouping symbol, so remember that. So I can do this on the top and then divide it by the negative 6. So I have 12 minus 30. If I have $12 but I need 30, I don't have enough money, so that becomes negative 18 over negative 6. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive 3. All right? So in this first exercise, what we're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to work through these problems. And then check in with me to make sure that we're doing these correctly. All right? This one might be a tough one, so you need to be careful with that one. And then video 2, we'll start working on these types of problems here. Okay? And we'll have a discussion about where the calculator falls in this as well. So for recorded lessons, day 10, video 1, this is Mr. Sims signing off.